I think one thing I've learned from the archaeologists is that the Aryan invasion theory is totally false. We were an outward Indian theory, meaning we civilized them, they did not civilize us. I think we were civilized when Europe was picking up stones. So, how can they come and civilize us? But archaeology should be a must of the history department. Without somebody, one or two archaeologists, because in JNU I've seen we are thought to be the greatest or most notorious, let's say, history department. We changed the whole history. So we changed that interpretations are sacred, facts can vary. So we changed the definition of history and everybody believed us, sir.
And so we were being made to forget R.C. Majumdar, Jadunath Sarkar, D.V. Sen, Raghuveer Singh, Radha Kumud Mukherjee, Neelkant Shastri. The list goes on. ये वो नाम थे जो हमने पढ़कर अपनी एमएस करी, अपनी पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करी. तो मेरे साथ विडंबना क्या हुई कि जब मैंने पढ़ाना शुरू किया तो एक जो मैंने पढ़कर इतना अच्छा प्रोग्रेस किया था उनको भुला दिया गया कि नहीं, दे आर नॉट हिस्टोरियंस, यू गो टू फॉरगेट अबाउट देम. सो दिस वाज द नैरेटिव ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल राइटिंग. एंड इट ऑल हैपेंड विद इन अ फ्यू, एक 10-12 साल 15 साल में भारत का इतिहास का नैरेटिव ही बदल गया. एंड दैट विल बी फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम एवर Anantnag holding an exhibition on Kashmir. That is changing Kashmir. That is the new form of Kashmir. And I've already got queries from people sitting in small towns. Since I've done a lot of work, I've traveled a lot in Kashmir. I have friends sitting in small colleges of suburban Kashmir, rural Kashmir, asking, sir, bring it to our school. So this is the new face. See, this exhibition, I've been in the ICHR for just about over 2 years now. I started teaching in 1977 at the age of 21, and after opting out of a career from the Indian Police Service. And I've lived this age of the historical narrative, sir. As I was telling you in the exhibition, I've experienced when Indian history changed gears. I started teaching in 77. Those of you who are familiar would know that JNU had been around only for 10 years by then. So the center was emerging, and so we were being made to forget R.C. Majumdar, Jadunath Sarkar, D.V. Sen, Raghuveer Singh, Radha Kumud Mukherjee, Neelkant Shastri. The list goes on. ये वो नाम थे जो हमने पढ़कर अपनी एमएस करी, अपनी पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करी. तो मेरे साथ विडंबना क्या हुई कि जब मैंने पढ़ाना शुरू किया तो एक जो मैंने पढ़कर इतना अच्छा प्रोग्रेस किया था उनको भुला दिया गया कि नहीं, दे आर नॉट हिस्टोरियंस, यू गो टू फॉरगेट अबाउट देम. So this was the narrative of historical writing, and it all happened within a few, एक 10-12 साल 15 साल में भारत का इतिहास का narrative ही बदल गया. तो ये जो the kind of effort that we are doing now, is since I'm so conscious of this, the ICHR has a lot of other works, fellowships हैं, हमारे programs हैं, हमारे research projects हैं. तो मैंने सोचा नहीं, we have to impact the perceptual understanding of history. I'll give you a small example. I've spent my lifetime studying the partition of Punjab, subsequently Kashmir. In 1978, there was a book for NCERT, made mandatory reading for class 11 and 12, 10, 11 and 12. Would you believe that the partition of India was discussed in 5 lines? That book it dismissed partition in 5 lines. I was telling Sanjay Murthy ji when we were outside, I said, sir, tell me one book which is being taught at our schools and colleges which has a detailed reference to Kashmir. So this is a historical narrative. And the idea of organizing such an exhibition, as Omji has described, I won't go into the details, it will not be possible. See, we have tried to minimize the political content of this exhibition. It is very difficult for any student of history, most of you are with history backgrounds. It is easy to discuss culture, easy to discuss spiritualism, art in illustrations. It is not possible or not easy to discuss politics in illustrations. So that explains why of the 78 panels, we have just 10 or 15 panels on the political history. But then political history has to be told, So we've tried to do that part. We've tried to be very fair. We've given all ages their due space. I'm very happy to inform this small but very august gathering that the NBT has very kindly agreed to do a volume of this exhibition, sir, is being converted into a volume. I'm doing an introduction in that volume. And so we will have a Hindi and an English version of this volume in very soon, maybe another 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months at most. We've also done earlier to this exhibitions on the partition of India. We've done a very comprehensive exhibition on the freedom movement. Again, the narrative is the same. See, we are not just adding exhibitions, we are telling a story that has remained hidden. Those of you who are familiar with the exhibition on the freedom movement will remember that the story was of the revolutionaries, the story that had not been told. If you had the chance to see the exhibition on the partition of India, which fortunately went to Parliament House, went to Rashtrapati Bhavan and other places as well, the story again was of hidden factors, the narratives that had not been told. The Kashmir narrative in sum, sir was asking me when I was showing him around the exhibition, how exactly would I define this exhibition on Kashmir? You see, you have to understand that this is a very old nation. ये बहुत पुराना, बहुत प्राचीन, विशाल देश है ये, जिसकी सभ्यता को अगर आप देखें, you see what the colonial, I'll just preface myself for a couple of minutes. You know, we had invaders coming in and going out, but this system continued. We remained virtually unchanged. It is the British that came in. In 200 years, they undid this country over thousands of years. सबसे बड़ा नुकसान जो अंग्रेज़ों ने किया, जो कॉलोनियल उपनिवेशवादी रूल ने किया भारत में, वो ये था कि उन्होंने इसका डिस्कनेक्ट कर दिया. They made us forget the spiritual, the cultural legacies of this great nation. See, we are not talking of Hindus, Muslims, we are talking of the Bharatita. Everyone is part of this great composite culture. Nothing would be more unfair to look at this country in isolation of one country or one community or the other. You know, that will be the most unfair judgment. They broke us up from our culture. The result was that we lost a great part of our narrative. And what we are trying to do in the ICHR, many friends ask me, what exactly are you doing? You see, we are not trying to rewrite history. History cannot be rewritten. It can only be, you can only fill gaps, you know. Only a fool would try to rewrite history. And we are definitely not fools. At the ICHR, we are ensuring that everyone, but we have to fill the narrative. We have to complete the stories. We have to complete the gaps. And finally, the emphasis on exhibition is only, it's not for scholars. I mean, there should be people, there must be people who think that it's not for the ICHR to take up exhibitions of this kind. I have another view on this. And with my council, we had a very wonderful meeting this morning. And I'm so happy all the council members are here. And we have full support of the council, and the vision is combined here. That apart from the regular routine research, we also have to impact the perceptual level. We also have to go out of the ICHR's boundaries. So this is what these exhibitions are doing. The exhibition that you see outside today is going to go to Srinagar, it's going to go to Leh, it's going to go to Ladakh. And let me assure you, it will also go to smaller towns in Kashmir. And that will be for the first time ever. Anantnag holding an exhibition on Kashmir. That is changing Kashmir. That is the new form of Kashmir. And I've already got queries from people sitting in small towns. Since I've done a lot of work, I've traveled a lot in Kashmir. I have friends sitting in small colleges of suburban Kashmir, rural Kashmir, asking, sir, bring it to our school. So this is the new face. And this exhibition, per se, fills that space. With these words, I'll thank all of you. I must thank the council members.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me congratulate the ICHR family for the 52nd Foundation Day of ICHR. And I am grateful to Professor Tamar and the ICHR for calling me to speak before you on the subject which is related to the exhibition covering Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. The topic is recent archaeological investigations in Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh, and more or less it is based on my own experiences in the region. So, the Pali literature often mentions Gandhar with Kashmir. Among 16 great states, Gandhar is mentioned with Kamboj and Madra. Madra or Madrak, Sindhu, Savir, Mahishak seems to have covered the greater Gandhar region beyond its core area as per Mahabharata. Gandharan art tradition influenced by the Hellenistic style impacted art of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh to some extent. Interactions of Gandharan art with Madhya and Kashmir regions have been traced in excavations at Ushkur, Ambara, in Akhnur, and Kanishpur or Kanishpur. Next, please. This is Google map of the area of Kashmir with certain important places. Next, please. So, our attention is drawn for the first about the decorated terracotta tile pavements, which is the highlight of Kashmir. The wheel of law also represents the wheel of life or time, Kal Chakra, and to remind the worshippers about the theory of causation, Pratitya Samutpad, it seems to have got a place in the Chaitya temples. The particular style of disc pattern of concentric circles of decorated tile pattern seems to have evolved in Kashmir and reached Gandhar later in the late 4th or 5th century CE, as evidenced at Bhamla in Taxila. The style introduced in the 1st-2nd century AD in Kashmir during Kushan period became much popular for the next few centuries. The style is landmark achievement of Kushan architecture of Kashmir, found best represented so far at Harwan. Harwan is a place in Srinagar which is supposed to be the Shadarhad one mentioned in Sanskrit literature. Next, please. The tile decoration essentially for pavements, but facade was also decorated sometimes. A long platform at the back of the courtyard, almost throughout its length, bears such decoration. Some of the photographs are also in the exhibition, which you can see about the decorative terracotta tile pavements. Next, please. We excavated this place, Kanishpur or Kanishpur, and it was about 1 century back when Sir Aurel Stein had discovered this place and identified it with Kanishpur, which is mentioned in Kalhana's Rajtarangini to be one of the cities, one of the 3 city sites which were established by the Kushan kings, Hushk, Jushk and Kanishk. So we excavated this site, found the remains of diaper pebble structure, a huge structure 22 into 17 meters with Kharoshthi numerals on a few tiles, lime brick floor, roof tiles with holes having iron nails, decorated stucco work. The roof tiles with nails suggest that the superstructure was of tiles. And this was the beginning of the city of Kanishpur. Similarly, we have Huishkpur or Ushkur, and the third one is not very sure, which is said to have been established by another Kushan emperor. Next, please. Next. So these are certain details about the site. I'm not going into that, but I would like to mention that 39 squares we had excavated in three different areas, and a ceramic Neolithic, Kushan, post-Kushan, and Kashmir dynastic period. These were found in the excavations. The finding of a ceramic Neolithic and ceramic Neolithic was something which we had not expected. And to our surprise, when the C14 dates were known to us, we found that the there are certain sites in Kashmir which have Neolithic settlements. Bursom is a well-known site, Gufkral is another one, but the earliest site is Kanishpur, and it goes back to the 4th millennium BCE. From the junction of a ceramic Neolithic and ceramic Neolithic, we have found some charcoal samples which were dated to 3300 BCE. And if we cover the aceramic Neolithic, at least 600-700 years we have to give for that, then it goes back to around 4000 BCE. So the Neolithic, which is the stage of human settlement, goes back to at least 4000 BCE in Kashmir. Next, please. These are some of the dates. Next, please. And interestingly, when we say Neolithic, we know that it is because of the tools, bone tools and stone tools, the polished stone tools. So that phase is called Neolithic. And here we have copper objects also from the late Neolithic levels. And it seems that there was some kind of interaction between the early Hadappans or pre-Hadappans and the Neolithic people. Next, please. And then we have the ceramic Neolithic with different types of pottery and potsherds, and with stamped decorations, bowls, dishes on stand, jars and vases, and many with matte impressed disc bases and decorated rims. Next. There are a number of goblets which you can see in the top picture, which have also been found from Taxila. And the period of the Taxilan pottery is the same with which is around 1st, 2nd century AD. And then there are different types of other pottery. Next, please. The Kanishpur evidence is structural evidence of diaper pebble style of masonry and simplicity of tiles having Brahmi letters on some of them are suggestive of early usage of tiles which sooner influenced the style in entire Kashmir and also found its way to Gandhar. So it originated from Kashmir and then went to Gandhar, not vice versa. And this is a conjectural restoration of the circular terracotta tile pavement. Next, please. Next. Yes, in an orchard we have found this structure with terracotta tile pavements. Next. Now, the highlights which normally I have just mentioned, but I would like to mention one important thing, that such contact is the evidence of emmer wheat or Triticum dicoccum, which originated in the Middle East and came through Iran and Afghanistan and appears in the early Harappan period at Kunal. Kunal is a place which I am presently excavating, and Rohida also in mature Harappan phase, and not found later in Indian context. This emmer wheat is never found later. The early Hadappans at Kunal has evidence of pit dwelling and ring stone, features of Kashmir Neolithic. Such Neolithic traits are also being traced in Birrana, an early Harappan settlement in Haryana. So, originally in Burzholm, these dwelling pits were identified, and now they have also been identified in certain pre and early Harappan sites in Haryana. Next, please. It seems that the style originated in early Kushan period at Kanishpur around 1st 2nd century AD. It developed at Harwan, Hutmura, Ahan, Hoynar, Donipathar, Hatmola, Kralchak, Kudwal, etc. in the 3rd 4th century AD. It influenced the Gandhar region in the 4th 5th century AD as evidence at Taxila at the site Bhamla. Next, please. And John Marshall dates Bhamla monastic establishment and stoop and cells to 4th 5th century AD. At Bhamla, the tiles were generally laid flat but divided into squares with lines of tile on edge between them to retain them in position. In front of eastern ascent to the main stupa, it was in the form of wheel of law with spokes and rims and small concentric circles inside formed of tiles on edge. So this is clearly evidence of influence of the Kashmir style in Bhamla in Taxila. Next, please. Next. This is the evidence of the tile pavement at Bhamla. Next. And this is what I was mentioning about the pottery, the goblets which are found in Taxila, not just in ceramics but also in copper and silver. Next. Ushkur is another site which we had not excavated, but it was excavated earlier. We had explored the site and we found that the beautiful terracotta figurines at Ushkur, they belong to around 4th century and not 8th century, which was earlier supposed to be by some of the scholars. Next, please. Similarities in architectural decorations in Kashmir and Gandhar, and you can see the niches, the making of niches. On the left side you have at Matan temple in Kashmir, where the style of niches are similar to the style of niches which developed at Dharmrajik Stoop in Taxila. So both sides were influencing each other. Next, please. And there are beautiful terracotta figurines, human terracottas. They are found in different museums throughout India and in the world. Next, please. And then we excavated a site called Ambara in Jammu, And this site is the same place which is mentioned by Charles Fabry and other scholars as Akhnur. And the Akhnur terracottas are famous for their similarities with Gandharan terracottas, and moreover with their similarities with Ushkur terracottas. Next, please. And from this list of museums, you can imagine that these terracottas are forming part of the collections of so many museums throughout the world. And earlier they were dated to around 8th century, but after we excavated this Ambaran site, we have now the stratigraphic evidence that they belong to the 4th century. At the latest, we can say that late 4th century, not beyond that. And this I got corrected in British Museum as well as in Victoria and Albert Museum also, where they were mentioned as 7th century. Next, please. Some more terracotta heads. In fact, the heads are solid, so they remain intact. And the rest of the parts of the body, they deteriorate. Next, please. And the Ambara mound, which we excavated in 1999-2000, is located on the river Chenab, and we found that even the slip on the terracottas, they were made out of the red soil, red sandy soil of the Chenab river. Next, please. This is another view, 48 quadrants of 18 squares we excavated there, and a general view of our excavations. And interestingly, we found, next please, we found the remains of a Buddhist casket, which is of copper, which contains a silver casket, and the silver one contains a gold casket. And we have divided the site into 4 periods. Period 1 is pre-Kushan or 1st century BC, around 1st century BC, and then Kushan period, post-Kushan period, and post-Gupta period. Next, please. This is the earliest level of the 1st century BCE. Next, please. And this is the square stupa, which you can see because of the balk. It is difficult to identify, but you can see the square nature of the stup, and exactly it is constructed in the style of the stupas at Taxila. And then all around there are votive stupas. You can see 3 of them on the left side, and the monastery is on the northern side. Next, please. Then in the period 2nd, it is 1st century to 3rd century AD, and the typical brick size of 36 to 38 centimeters in length we have there. And the decorative patterns also start coming up in the Kushan period. Next, please. The stupa has, of course, it is quite damaged, but the lower part, which is extant, has the Taxilan prototype. The square base is 6 into 6 meters with a maximum of 14 courses of bricks, and the platform is attached on eastern side, decorated parts of drum and harmica found in debris. Harmica is also made of terracotta That is interesting feature. Next, please. And this is a conjectural view of the stup, where in the center the reliquary was found. And it is quite similar to some of the stupas like Kalman in Taxila. Next, please. See, you can see the decorative moldings of the stupa and compare it with the Jandial structure in Taxila. Next. And this is the copper reliquary which was found with a silver reliquary inside and the gold casket within the silver reliquary containing small parts of bones. And the copper reliquary had its lid was not available. It was damaged, but it contains a number of gold leaves and silver leaves. Next, please. And these are some of the things which are contained in the Buddhist reliquary. And to our surprise, we found that this is the only known Buddhist site in the entire Jammu region. Next, please. Then we also came across a stupa with spoked wheel shaped stupa with boundary wall of the stone pebbles found from the riverbed, and it is quite similar to the spoked wheel-shaped stupas which are there in Sanghol or elsewhere in Nagarjunikond in south. Next, please. This is a close-up. You can see the spokes made of brickwork and which was filled up with different sizes of pebbles. Next, please. Excavations, we have found some of the terracotta heads, as well as next we have found different body parts. The fingers, 900 fingers we have found. So that itself suggests that the entire facade of the monastery was having so many figures made of terracotta or clay, which turned into terracotta probably when the monastery was burnt. So you can see the hand parts, the leg parts, different fingers and other body parts. Next, please. Some terracotta molds, maybe for decorative purposes. These molds were used for smaller parts to be made out of the decorations, and also probably the stone molds for making certain terracotta sculptures. Next, please. These are some of the more elaborate. Suppose in the facade there is a lady figure. So her bangles have to be made. So they had prepared these types of molds so that easily they can prepare the bangles on the figures. Next, please. And then because of the stratigraphic position, we have identified that these belong to the 4th century AD, and terracotta art connected with art of Madhya Desh and Gandhar school. So this is this has got the similarity not just with Gandhar, but with the art of Madhya Desh. Next, please. And then in the period 4, we find that there is a decline in the at the site. Next. Some more excavations had been carried out in Jammu region. One is Guru Baba Ka Tibba, where some early historic material was found and also graveware was available. Next. Another site is Jafarchak, which we excavated in 98-99, and we found that it starts from the 6th century CE and continues up to 17th, 18th century CE. And a coin of Sultan Zainul Abidin was found, suggesting that the Kashmir region had, the Kashmir state had its influence over Jammu region. Next, please. And these are some of the objects which we found in the excavations at Jafarchak. Next, please. An interesting feature is this copper plate, which was located, which belongs to 777, years 777. And this is the earliest record of the Dogra rule in Jammu. Of course, this copper plate has been lost. It was available with somebody in the Kot Balawal, Balwal village. And later on, when they had given it for a couple of days to us for making its copies and reading, and then when after we returned it, they say that they have lost it. Similarly, some other excavations have also had been undertaken, like Sudh Mahadev. It's a site in Udhampur where there is a Trishul belonging to the 4th, 5th century AD, and the name of the ruler of Padmavati, Bhavanag, is also mentioned on that Trishul. Next, please. Then a few slides I would like to show from Ladakh region, where we had worked for months together and covering no less than 400 kilometers from one end to another, from Leh to Kargil, and then from Kargil to Padam. So, next please. And in the exploratory survey, we found that there are, this is the map which we prepared of our exploratory surveys, where the spots where we discovered petroglyphs, they have been located. And we found prehistoric, early historic, and late historic engravings as well as rock carvings. Next, please. And we noticed also a huge, about 28 meters in height, a figure entirely cut out of the mountain at a place called Karshikhar, where it's very difficult to approach. Next. And such type of rock engravings are there, where there are war scenes, there are dancing scenes, there are scenes with certain animals like ibexes, and we have in the Batalik region practice in Balti language. That practice is called Thuma Saling. On the childbirth, the sacrifice of ibexes are given, and people collect to their worship place. The non-Buddhist, the earlier Drukpa people, they collect at one place and offer these to their gods. Next, please. There are camping grounds also, where you can see in the far off area there is a monastery, and next to the monastery goes a trekking way to Khardungla, which is the highest motorable road in the world, and then crossing it one can enter in the Karakoram region and come down to the area where the Yarkand, Khotan, Kashgar, that region is located. So people were trading in early centuries of the present era, and they were camping at certain places for some time, exchanging their commodities, and where they were staying, they had also made rock engravings. Next, please. Thank you.
I thank you, sir. I thank you for that. And Professor Raghavendra Tanwarji, let me congratulate you for this brilliant exhibition and the earlier also. And I know I agree with you, ICHR is a tenant of JNU's 35 Ferozshah Road. So some influence of JNU is there. But at the same time, let me tell you, sir, the paradigm shift is coming from JNU. Because ICHR is part of JNU. So, so they don't even pay us rent. So they are part of us. So that is how I can take the ownership when they do such good work. And so, and also Dr. Mani, I was very fascinated by the archaeological excavations and the ICHR governing council, Professor Shinde, whom I know well, who has worked, I quote Professor Sarkar and all of you. I'm extremely happy to meet all of you today. I think one thing I've learned from the archaeologists is that the Aryan invasion theory is totally false. We were an outward Indian theory, meaning we civilized them, they did not civilize us. I think we were civilized when Europe was picking up stones. So how can they come and civilize us? So I think really great contribution of archaeology. Here, one thing that you have taught me with the exhibition is the connection between Kashmir to Kanyakumari, especially Nataraja and even Buddhism as well as Kashmir Shaivism. I'm told with Shaiva Siddhanta, there are a lot of commonalities, a lot of work to be done. Professor Tanwarji, I thank you and your team for bringing out this and making the paradigm shift. Only my last idea, because I'm not a great historian, my only, I think, I would say, being here is I did my BA in history from Presidency College, Chennai. So that is the only maybe closest I got to history. And sir, I got the gold medal, so I was a good student. And then so I would only say that my only thing that I've understood by this exhibition of yours and all the work you're doing now and the paradigm shift as with the help of the Ministry of Education, let me tell you, for the first time, the government of India has been open to academic ideas. And they are pushing us to change. So thank you for the same, sir. That it is therefore wrongly deduced that archaeology is subservient to the discipline of history. I would rather say the deal is the other way around. Archaeology has two of the greatest advantages. It has a unique capability of stretching back to the remotest eras of human existence and drawing the hitherto unknown out of the darkness of time, like Dr. Mani showed us today. And secondly, archaeology details tangible relics, and therefore it can claim credibility that no other human sciences can. So what this means is that archaeology's efforts can cast much needed light upon the present day's issues with identity and possession. And by discovering valuable facts, In terms of land, homes, and artifacts, it can help to put issues of retention or restitution of land rights of indigenous and minority groups in perspective. And let me congratulate the ICHR, because I think anthropology also comes very close, and with the holistic of the NEP 2020, I would rather say that every history department, sir, in the country, with education, you must insist not only ancient, medieval, modern, but archaeology should be a must of the history department. Without somebody, one or two archaeologists, because in JNU I've seen we are thought to be the, the greatest or most notorious, let's say, history department. We changed the whole history. So we changed that interpretations are sacred, facts can vary. So we changed the definition of history and everybody believed us, sir. So now we are also changing it. So I believe that if we had an archaeology, we don't have archaeology specialization in our posts. This is something I think, sir, in every university should change and bring in archaeology as part of history and anthropology. So once again, I thank you all, because I don't think I can give any nyan to the great historians. I've come here to learn. Thank you so much, and please also help us in JNU to, make our history department. And sir, you're part of us, so anyway, yeah, but even you're there, sir. You are in our satellite center, because that is the place where School of International Studies began. In 1955, sir, Appadurai and Hidaynath Kunzuru. Again, Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And that school joined JNU. And hence, I think you're also part of us. Please help us to revitalize and whatever. And I think ICHR Council also should give for policy where we bring in archaeology as part of the anthropology and history departments. Thank you once again. Thank you, Jai Hind.